Hello, YouTube. There have been tribes, warfare, conquests in history that have been forgotten or maybe never recorded, or we lost all their records. But they left traces that are found from time to time, and I'm sure we'll be finding more as the know-how in archaeology expands. The tribe I'll describe today had quite unusual advanced knowledge of metallurgy. One of the reasons I became interested. Also, I find the images discovered in the mounds and ancient graves very interesting, and they remind me sometimes of other entities, so to say. Very interesting. This was a formidable army that traversed the whole of Russia from right to left in the middle of the second millennium before Common Era. We know almost nothing about them. No writing whatsoever, only burial grounds along the banks of great rivers filled those graves and grounds filled with weapons of extraordinary beauty. Let me show you some highlights of quite unusual aspects associated with them. Somewhere in the 16th to 15th centuries before Common Era, in the area between the steppe, like savanna, like the plains, and forest zones of Eurasia, as if from nowhere, a community of warriors appeared. They possessed the highest metallurgical skills for those times. They knew the technology of thin-walled casting, decorated spears, daggers, and axes with ornaments, and cast figures of people and animals, like the religious, for example, objects made of copper found in the grave of their priest near the city of Galich in the Kostroma region. Look at the knife with a handle in the shape of a snake. It's in the collection of the State Historical Museum in Moscow. They left behind military graves on a vast territory from Mongolia to the Baltic Sea. All these burial grounds are tied to major waterways, Volga and Oka, Kama and Chusovaya and Irtysh. But they have nothing to do with the settlements of that era surrounding them. No ceramics and no other household items, only murder weapons. This is so unusual that historians could not even call the totality of the found objects of the same type of this community an archaeological culture, as it's customary, but called it a transcultural phenomenon. The Seyma-Turbino culture, also Seyma-Turbinsky culture or Seyma-Turbino, more precisely Seyma-Turbino phenomenon, according to two large military necropolises discovered, respectively, near the Seyma railway station in the Nizhny Novgorod region, 50 burials, and within the city of Perm on the banks of the Kama River, 200 burials. Judging by the finds in the burial grounds, these warriors used single axle chariots and armor made of plates made of deer and elk horns and sewn on a leather base. An amazing discovery. Apparently in winter they moved along the frozen riverbeds on skis, holding on to the reins of a horse galloping in front. It was formidable and reckless army that fought with no one knows who. And what they looked like is also unclear. The remains and the graves were poorly preserved. In some, for example, only tooth enamel remained from the dead. Some scientists consider them to be Finno-Ugrians. Some consider them to be Proto-Turks, Tungus Manchu or Samoyed. That's the ancestors of the present Nenets and Selkups ethnicities living in the Russian north. And I've described them in my other videos about unusual or very little known ethnicities of Russia. Of course, little known in the West, but I think you'll find it interesting. Apparently, somewhere in the Altai or the Baikal region, about 3,500 years ago, or maybe earlier, it's hard to say for sure, a certain military alliance was formed which moved west. Maybe it was led by some unknown Napoleon of those times, consumed by the thirst for glory. Everything is possible, but there's no written evidence left. And this ancient leader brought his warriors to the farthest limits. Bronze weapons of the same Turbino type were found even in Finland and Estonia. And in 1912, for example, near the village of Borodino in present-day Moldova, an unusual, even more famous now, Borodino treasure was extracted from the ground, made up of objects from the middle of the second millennium before Common Era. It looks either like a lost collection or a warehouse of loot. There's a massive silver pin and a bronze knife of the Aegean type, 6 jade axes exactly like those found by Heinrich Schliemann in Troy, 3 tops of soapstone maces which were made in the Caucasus, and 2 Sema Turbino spearheads, bronze and silver, are of great value in those parts too. These findings have suggested basically a common point of cultural origin, possession of advanced metal working technology, and unexplained rapid migration. Those buried along the ways were nomadic warriors and metal workers, traveling on horseback or two-wheeled carts. Originally, the lack of tin ore in Eurasian steppes meant that metallurgy was initially based on copper or arsenical bronze. Actually, copper with more or less arsenic contact with the effect of hardening it. It is only from the rise of the Semo-Turbino culture in the Sayano-Altai region that tin bronze, alloys of copper and tin, began to be used. Initially, through forging and progressively through casting techniques, marking the true start of the Bronze Age. The bronzes found were technologically advanced for the time, including lost wax casting, and showed high degree of artist input in their design. Horses were the most common shapes for the hilts of blades. Weapons such as spearheads with hooks, single-bladed knives, and socketed axes with geometric designs traveled west and east from Xinjiang in China. The culture spread from the Altai Mountains to the west and to the east. The same Turbino culture may have been identical with the northern tribes of Guifang, Devil's Country, reported by Chinese historical chronicles of the Shang dynasty around 1600 before Common Era to 1046 before Common Era. So this is what I wanted to let you know today, and of course we'll talk about Guifang culture and history in later videos when I talk more about ancient China. But that's what I wanted to show you today. A very interesting, quite significant conquest and movement of troops in Eurasia, and we'll know almost nothing about it. Thank you for your attention to my work. I'll bring you more videos about obscure history of Eurasia as well, and its paranormal phenomena, as I have before. If you like my research, please support me through the links you will find in description to this channel. And please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.